From the kitchens of ancient civilizations to the modern dining table, salt has always been more than just a flavor enhancer. It's a silent ingredient that transforms meals, preserves food, and even sustains life. But what if I told you that the power of salt goes beyond the physical? Hidden within this humble crystal, the deep spiritual truths, lessons that God Himself has used to teach and bless mankind. Let's dive deeper into each of the 7 reasons and benefits of using salt in prayer. 1. Symbol of purity and cleansing. In the Bible, salt is often associated with purity because of its natural ability to purify and preserve. For instance, in 2 Kings 2:19 verses 22, the prophet Elisha used salt to cleanse and heal the bitter waters of Jericho, making them drinkable and productive for the land. This act was a symbolic representation of how God can purify and cleanse what is impure or harmful. Benefit in prayer. When salt is used in prayer, it can symbolize asking God to purify our hearts, minds, and lives. Just as salt cleanses physically, spiritually, it can represent cleansing from sin, negative thoughts, or any impure influences. It reminds the believer of the need to be clean before God and to seek His help in overcoming moral and spiritual contamination. 2. Preservation of God's covenant. Salt was an essential part of sacrifice in the Old Testament. In Leviticus 2, verses 13, God instructed the Israelites to offer salt with their grain offerings as a sign of the perpetual nature of the covenant between God and His people. Similarly, in Numbers 18 verses 19, God refers to the covenant He has with the priests as a covenant of salt, symbolizing its unbreakable and lasting nature. Benefit in prayer. Salt in prayer can serve as a reminder of the eternal promises God has made to His people. It encourages believers to reflect on the enduring nature of their relationship with God, founded on His unwavering covenant. By praying with salt, a person acknowledges and renews their commitment to living according to God's covenant, seeking to uphold their end of the spiritual agreement. 3. Spiritual protection. Salt has often been considered a protective agent in many cultures and traditions, including in biblical times. It was used to preserve food from decay, and this metaphor extends to spiritual protection, preserving one's soul and life from the influence of evil. Benefit in prayer. Using salt in prayer can symbolize a plea for protection from evil forces, harmful spirits, or negative influences. Just as salt preserves food, a believer may ask God to preserve their soul, family, or home from spiritual attacks. It can serve as a visible reminder of the protection and security believers find in God's presence and power. Many Christians sprinkle salt while praying over doorways or other areas in their homes, asking for divine protection. 4. Flavor and wisdom. In Matthew 5, verses 13, Jesus calls His followers the salt of the earth, emphasizing their role as influencers in the world, giving flavor and preserving godly values in a decaying society. Salt not only preserves, but also enhances flavor, symbolizing the wisdom, character, and spiritual discernment that Christians should carry in their lives. Benefit in prayer. Salt used in prayer can signify a request for spiritual wisdom, discernment, and the ability to be a positive influence in the world. Believers may ask God to help them be like salt, enhancing the lives of others, bringing out the best in people, and standing as preservers of righteousness and truth in a morally declining world. It can also serve as a reminder to live in such a way that one reflects God's wisdom, bringing light to others. 5. Healing properties. Salt was often used in ancient times as a disinfectant and preservative. Its healing properties are highlighted in 2 Kings 2 verses 21, where Elisha uses salt to heal the waters of Jericho, making them healthy again. Benefit in prayer. Salt can be used in prayers for healing, representing God's ability to heal and restore what is broken, whether that's physical illness, emotional wounds, or spiritual affliction. Praying with salt can be a symbol of faith in God's healing power, asking Him to bring health and wholeness where there has been pain or sickness. For many, it also serves as a tangible element that expresses trust in God's restorative work. 6. Enhancing spiritual discipline. Salt is simple yet essential, symbolizing core Christian values like humility, obedience, and dedication. In Mark 9 verses 50, Jesus says, "Have salt in yourselves, and be at peace with one another." This means that believers should embody the preserving and purify qualities of salt in their personal lives and relationships. Benefit in prayer. Salt in prayer can remind believers of the importance of maintaining spiritual discipline. Just as salt was valuable in ancient times, maintaining a life of prayer, obedience, and humility is valuable in one's spiritual journey. Using salt can be a call to simplicity and devotion, urging a return to core Christian principles like love, patience, and forgiveness, which can sometimes be forgotten in the complexities of life. 7. Breaking strongholds. Throughout Scripture, God's power is often seen in acts of deliverance, breaking strongholds and freeing people from bondage. Salt is sometimes used in religious or spiritual rituals to represent breaking negative spiritual cycles, curses, or bondage. Benefits in prayer. Salt can be used as a symbolic tool to declare the breaking of strongholds or curses in one's life. Whether those strongholds are personal, such as addictions or bad habits, generational like negative family patterns, or spiritual such as demonic oppression, using salt while praying can signify a declaration of freedom and restoration through God's power. It symbolizes God's authority over all spiritual battles and the believer's faith in God's ability to bring about deliverance. Conclusion. Salt in prayer holds deep symbolic meaning, touching on themes of purity, covenant, protection, wisdom, healing, spiritual discipline, and freedom. Each of these benefits has roots in biblical stories and teachings, and using salt can serve as a powerful reminder of God's enduring presence and power in the believer's life. Whether used as a part of physical prayer practices or simply meditated upon during prayer, salt's significance can bring depth and insight into one's spiritual journey. For mankind, the lessons of salt are enduring. In every grain of salt, there lies a reminder of God's eternal promise, His healing power, and the call to live as preservers of His truth. Salt benefits mankind not only physically, but spiritually, enhancing the lives of believers and those they encounter, just as it enhances the flavor of food. As we reflect on the biblical truths of salt, let us strive to embody its qualities in our own lives, preserving goodness, bringing healing, fostering peace, and standing firm in our faith.